Welcome to this explainer. I'm super excited to guide you through today's topic because we're doing something a bit different. We are completely stripping away all those surface-level aesthetics. So forget the 6-month waiting lists, forget the beautifully curated Instagram grids, and those perfectly moody studio vibes. Today we're looking purely at the hard data of mid-2026 industry standards in the body art world. We're going to look at what those non-negotiable standards truly are, how they serve as the absolute baseline separating legitimate studios from, well, dangerous ones, and how studios are actually performing against them when nobody is looking.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the core theme for this entire explainer is right here. Sterilization requires validation, not trust. Assuming a studio is safe simply because it looks clean, that just isn't going to cut it anymore. True industry safety must be methodically, consistently proven. In 2026, studio safety is a documentation and validation problem just as much as a technical one. We have to move past simply trusting a process and start demanding the receipts.
So here is our roadmap for today, basically our hierarchy of safety. We're covering 1. The sterilization foundation, 2. Human compliance, 3. Material safety, 4. Global regulations, and 5. Screening protocols.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the Sterilization Foundation.
Now, the autoclave is absolutely, hands down, the most important piece of equipment in any studio. It's the bedrock. If this machinery isn't functioning up to the absolute highest industry standards, none of that amazing art or high-end jewelry matters one bit. To prove an autoclave actually works, we use a biological indicator called Geobacillus stereothermophilus. That is the absolute gold standard for weekly spore testing. And the keyword there is weekly. If a studio is running these tests monthly or worse, only when the health inspector is due to show up, they're operating purely on trust. Why? Because a single undetected failure means every single instrument in that cycle, and potentially hundreds of clients processed afterward, was not sterile. Weekly validation catches those failures before they ever reach a client.
And listen, not all autoclaves are created equal either. You have the Class B vacuum autoclave, which is the recommended standard for wrapped and hollow instruments. Then you have the Class N gravity displacement unit. Class N units actually cannot sterilize wrapped packs or lumened instruments. They are, frankly, completely unsafe for piercing equipment. Plus, undersized units, even if they are Class B, create this immense pressure on staff to rush the cycles. And a rush cycle is an incomplete cycle, for sure.
But the machine alone isn't the whole story, right? The physical workflow matters immensely. Industry standards demand a strict, auditable sequence. Clean instruments must never, ever cross back through the dirty zone, and cleaning sinks absolutely have to be totally separate from hand-washing sinks. If you skip ultrasonic pre-cleaning, you leave behind bioburden, which is basically just organic matter, and that literally acts like a microscopic shield, protecting microorganisms from the steam of the autoclave. It's a massive risk.
Moving right along to Section 2, Human Compliance.
Every single studio in a regulated jurisdiction has to maintain bloodborne pathogens, or BBP, training for anyone handling needles or biological waste. The U.S. federal baseline set by OSHA requires an annual refresher. It is definitely not a one-time onboarding checkbox. A 2023 certificate? That is absolutely meaningless in 2026. The gap between who should be trained and who actually is trained is exactly where liability lives. This is especially true for sharps disposal, which the data shows is the single BBP item most likely to trigger a failed inspection.
All right, Section 3, Material Safety.
11.4%. I really want that number to sink in for a second. 11.4% of the population is sensitized to nickel. It's literally the most common contact allergen we face. And while the EU nickel directive definitely helped drop this number down from nearly 20% in young women, 11.4% still represents a massive portion of the population walking through a studio's doors every single day.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is how overwhelmingly responsible piercings are for triggering these allergic reactions. A staggering 82% of nickel allergy cases trace directly back to piercing jewelry. Only 18% come from other sources. So what does this all mean? It means the body art industry is right on the front lines of this specific health issue.
When we look at the full picture, the risk really multiplies. An odds ratio of 5.9 means you are vastly more likely to have this allergy if you have piercings. But here's the most shocking metric. Nearly 1 in 4 European earrings still exceed the EN 111 legal safety limit for nickel release. No way, right? Despite strict industry standards and non-negotiable baselines, 24.7% are just entirely non-compliant.
So, the crucial point is, you absolutely have to know what you are stocking. Take implant-grade titanium, specifically ASTM F136.
It has zero nickel and a completely known, validated safety profile. On the flip side, you have unspecified surgical steel. Listen closely to this. Surgical steel has literally no regulatory definition. Unless it's verified by a batch ICP-MS certificate, which is a highly sensitive lab test proving safe nickel release, neither the piercer nor the client has any idea what is actually going into a healing wound. That's relying entirely on trust instead of validation.
Let's zoom out a bit for Section 4, Global Regulations. Because regulation without enforcement is just, well, paper. Look at the sheer volume of restricted substances a compliance studio has to navigate nowadays. The REACH regulation, which is Europe's massive chemical safety framework, has a substances of very high concern list with over 240 entries. And the EU tattoo ink regulation, that added roughly 4,000 substance restrictions to inks. These lists grow every single European Chemicals Agency, or ESA, cycle. A studio can't just check this stuff once. They have to actively cross-reference their safety data sheets quarterly.
So this is what legal compliance actually looks like on the ground. If your studio is buying cheap imported jewelry from outside the EU, they're taking on massive legal obligations that they likely aren't fulfilling. You must know exactly what substances are in your inks and jewelry. You have to verify that restricted substances are below legal thresholds. You must maintain all those safety data sheets. And you actually have to be able to respond to information requests within 45 days. It's a huge undertaking.
And finally, Section 5, Screening Protocols. Safety doesn't magically begin when the needle touches the skin, right? It starts with the direct interaction with the client during the health screening. And this brilliantly illustrates why a form that just asks, "Any health conditions?" with a blank space is hoping it's not actually screening. A proper protocol flags real contraindications based on strict industry standards. For example, if a client is on isotretinoin, a heavy acne medication like Accutane, standards dictate a minimum 6-month wait before any elective procedures. Anticoagulants massively increase bleeding risks, and a predisposition to keloids entirely changes the risk calculation for certain placements. You have to ask the right questions.
Furthermore, safety continues long after the client leaves the studio. Proper aftercare schedules and reaction triage protocols are absolutely vital to help clients tell the difference between normal healing and an early infection. The data is incredibly clear on this. Studios that track their complication rates improve. Those that don't, they can't, simply because they have no idea where they actually stand.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Think about your next appointment. Look past the cool aesthetics, the great portfolios, and all the hype. When it comes down to the sterilization foundation, human compliance, material safety, global regulations, and those vital screening protocols, is your studio operating on validation or just trust? It's time we start demanding the data and holding the line on industry standards. Thanks so much for joining me to explore the hard facts of industry safety today.